What's up, Millionaire Car Salesman? We are 89 days away from the Internet Sales 20 group in Houston, Texas, and guess what? I still can't find my recording equipment. So, I believe it's in the back of the car where Sean obviously recorded this most recent podcast. He think I don't know, but I can hear everything. I'm the blind phone master. So, I'm going to worry about catching him. You all just catch the amazing information that is being discussed on this podcast. He's having a conversation with a young progressive dealer principal by the name of Chris Cochran. Check it out. I'm going to find you. Take my podcast back.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, the president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. But you don't hear L.A. Williams. You know why? Because I took back my podcast. This dude had me tied up, hog-tied in the back. I mean, he just tried to just take over. He wanted to be Sean V. Bradley. Now I'm only kidding. Listen, I gave L.A. Williams, the blind phone master, the day off. And I'm here on site in good old Kentucky. Yeehaw! See, I don't even know if they yeehaw in Kentucky, but I'm from New York, so if you're not from New York, everybody yeehaws. So I'm here with a special guest, Chris Cochran in the house. Say hello.
What's up, everybody? Chris Cochran with Easy Car Connection in Frankfort, Kentucky. Honored to be on.
So my question, do you guys yeehaw down here, or you guys don't do that?
Man, they yeehaw what we call down in the hollers in eastern Kentucky. Here in Lexington, we don't really get down like that.
All right, that's all cool. So you are the dealer principal, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How old are you? Because you look young.
33.
Okay, you're Jesus' age. There you go. All right. So listen to me. I'm really excited, audience, because I've got a 33-year-old owner of an independent car dealership in Kentucky, and he's very progressive. And what I want to do is I want to switch things up a little bit, and we've never talked about the stuff we're going to talk about here. But before we get into my awesome agenda, I want to hear your story. How did you come up into the car industry, and how did you, at freaking 33 years old, become a dealer principal?
Yeah. So it's I try to condense it as much as I can. So me and my wife got married in Destin Beach, Florida, on the beach. We've always been big beach bums and dreamed of one day living there. So one December day, we finally just said, you know what, let's do it. And so we packed up our stuff, we sold our house, got jobs. At the time, I was not in the auto industry. We packed up, everything went in about 60 days from we said we wanted to do it. We were living in Tampa, Florida. And so I was in the financial services industry at the time as a financial advisor with a large firm there, Levin Financial Group. Shout out to them. They gave me a lot of excellent training, and it really helped me in my career. So, and my wife was in insurance. So, just by happen chance, there was a lot of parallels in the financial services industry to the car industry. 100% commission. There was no salary, no draw. It was, hey kid, here, pass your test, get licensed, and go find somebody and sell them something. So, we learned quickly that I needed to network and get out in the community in order to be successful in my career. But also, we had no friends and no family there, so we sought out some relationships with friends. And so one of the first couples we met was a gentleman named John Shaver that was a former dealer principal as well in Fort Wayne, Indiana, of a Ford, Volvo, and Mercedes store. And he sold out, got Blue Sky, did really well. And
wait a minute, real quick, because a lot of people don't understand Blue Sky. That are so what is it? I know what that means.
Yeah, so pre 2008 recession, he sold out and got all the money for his dealership.
So Blue Sky means
it's
jargon.
Yeah, jargon. So Blue Sky to me means he sold out for top dollar for his dealerships at the time. That was when.
So he got a stupid sick deal.
Stupid sick deal. Economy was still killing it. Car industry was on a fire. He got a stupid sick deal, exactly. And so he had traveled the country and landed in Tampa around the same time we did. And we met playing softball, co-ed softball of all things. And we just became really good friends. And he one day came to me and said, look, I'm bored. I'm going to start up a small independent dealership. I'd like for you to come help me and partner up. And that he cut my teeth in the auto industry. He gave me an offer.
Question, did you have money back then like that? Or did he help you by being the bank end of things?
No, yeah. So he was definitely the money. He was the dealer principal of Shaver Automotive. He was the money. He was the brains. He was really everything. He just knew that he liked and trusted me, and that I consider myself an intelligent guy. And
so pause for a second. So people, do you hear this? My man's in here in Florida. All of a sudden, he made the right friend. Do you understand me? You can't get rich being on the block with a bunch of knuckleheads that are broke. You got to surround yourself with people that are making moves or are already where you want to be. Would you agree?
100% agree. And just to kind of drive that home a little bit more, this past weekend, even at our church, it goes all the way back to, in a biblical sense. It's, surround yourself with the right crowd. Stuff rubs off, whether it's good stuff or bad stuff. Absolutely agree with what Sean's saying. Surround yourself with the right crowd, the right people, and it's amazing what happens. Hence, Sean's in the car with me right now.
So
anyway, fast forward, we started a small dealership that was a very small independent dealership, literally from ground zero. We built everything from the start. We started becoming successful, getting the dealership off the ground, and then, the funny thing called life happened. Me and my wife became pregnant with what's now our 8-year-old sons, twin boys. And so that was a curveball we didn't expect that landed us back in our hometown in Lexington, Kentucky after about 6 months after the kids were born. So a couple of years hiatus in between when we moved back to Kentucky. I ran a company sales department for software sales. And just knew that that wasn't my heart, that wasn't my passion, was not in that I absolutely wanted to have my own dealership. And so me and a childhood friend, which is now my business partner Mike Adari, we started flipping cars on the side.
So talk me through that process, because how does somebody this is perfect because we were driving, so it's going to be real clear now. How does somebody get into starting a used car lot? I guess, how do you build a house one brick at a time? So,
sure.
So talk us through the process. Where do they find inventory? Where do they get money? Is it a loan? So, what do you do?
We weren't brought up with a silver spoon in our mouth. We were given nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing. Capital makes things a lot easier, but for those of you out there that may not have a lot of cash or capital saved up or the resources, we started small, one bite at a time. We started, with literally one car. We bought one car. This was pre-dealership times. We bought one car, flipped it, made what we could, bought another one, reinvested every single penny, and kept going for about a year or two till we had the seed capital to open a dealership. And even at that time, we had 10 cars. Right?
Stop for a second. Yo, do you hear that? That shit is powerful. It reminds me when I was back on the block, flipping packages in Brooklyn and Queens. I mean, but legally, that is just so amazing and so inspiring that you wanted to be an entrepreneur, that you started with one car, you flipped it, reinvested it, flipped it till you got to 10 cars. I mean, damn, that is so inspiring. Okay, so take us through. Then what was the next big jump?
So the next big jump was once we actually had a little bit of money, and it was a little bit, and it wasn't nowhere near enough looking back, but it was enough to get us to where we are today. So take that step. Anybody out there that's looking to do this, just get started. You got to start somewhere. I don't care how big or small or where it is, just start. So we sought out a physical location. Of course, we had to have a location to get our dealer's license. There's lots of regulations in Kentucky that you have to do in order to get licensed. So by happen chance, we had a mutual friend that had it used to be an old Honda dealership that he was leasing out to do car accessories, and had some excess space. That, shout out to Trey Waddle, he put us on the map. He gave us an opportunity to sublease from him, and we had our location and we were open. So that's really, we just kind of fell into that by happen chance as well.
Did you get a floor plan, and did you?
Yes, we did. So prior,
explain what a floor plan is to people.
So floor plan, for those of you who don't know, is basically a line of credit to purchase inventory. And so there's different variations of a floor plan where we had no prior experience being dealer principals. We had no financial statements that most of the, a traditional bank or lender is looking for. We had to go to, a non-traditional, which was via the auction house. So at that point in time, it was through Next Gear Financial. I think it was called a different name back then. MAFS, I believe, and another one through the AFC, which is another auction house through Odessa. And so they gave us like 25 grand each. We had like 50 grand between two different lines to buy our inventory, source our inventory. So when I say we started small. I've got cars on the lot that are 50 grand for one car now. So
for one car, exactly.
So yeah, we started very small, and we just, we bootstrapped everything that we could, meaning we didn't pay ourselves. We invested everything. We tried to, be as stewards with our money as possible. And we put it all back in and went from, like I said, 10 cars to, now we have, over 100 cars in inventory at most times. And we own a 10,000 square foot dealership.
It's definitely impressive. Okay, and we were just talking earlier when I flew in and you picked me up from the airport that, one of your top months is, you sold how many units?
I think our top unit month was 57.
Okay, and then you made close to 200 grand in 1 month, right?
Correct.
So just let's talk about that. Reflect, because you know what I find is that like successful people, sometimes they're so busy and like because there's new challenges, new fires put out, and new inertia and energy, they don't really get to enjoy the come up. You know what I mean? Like if you look back at Chris Cochran, that saved his money and was so excited to buy his first car. And when you flipped it and you didn't take $1 out of it, you reinvested it all. And then fast forward to when you made, close to $200,000 just on the sales side in 1 month. Like, how proud are you of that evolution?
Man, I'm the type of guy where I'm always, not satisfied just because I know we're just scratching the surface. But when I really sit back and reflect like you're talking about, I'm extremely happy, extremely proud of. And it's not just what I've done. It's what we've done as a team, as an organization. I've got all my people is what make it go around. I've got really good people, and so very, very happy of how far we've came. And we've came this far in a very short period of time. We celebrated our 5-year anniversary in March. So in 5 short years, we've came a tremendous way. So very proud of that, but I also know, where I want to be in the next 5 years.
So let's talk about that. So again, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Like if you're going to project and manifest the secret, like where do you see your organization growing?
In the next 5 years, we see our organization growing into a centralized main hub store where we're doing 100 plus units a month. And then Kentucky has a lot of small rural towns. We have a couple major cities that I really don't have that huge interest in being the major player in those, but branching out to the small communities and having satellite stores that, 40, 50 car stores spread out. And I've kind of developed this philosophy. I'm just copying someone else that I've seen has been very successful with it. And so we see having, in 5 years, we see having 6, 7 stores.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we're going to flip this a little bit because, we're doing this Millionaire Podcast. Tell them where we're at right now.
We're sitting at the departure of Lexington, Kentucky Airport, ready to get Sean back to Philly to see his family.
But I'm never the one to miss an opportunity to tap the knowledge of an entrepreneur, a hustler, a car pro, and literally a millionaire car salesman. So here's my question. We talk about in business, that it's good to have multiple streams of income, passive income. And so that way, if you have a bad month, you're not, feeling like you're going bankrupt. And you're uniquely qualified because of, your background, especially as an independent dealer. I talked to you about this cool idea. Let's say somebody's working at the dealership, in showroom sales. Let's say they're brand new or they've been there for 30 years. It doesn't really matter. If they want to make more money, obviously they could step up their car sales game, etc. But let's say they're doing 30, 40, 50 cars. They just want more money. Do you think it's a good idea that, or is it a smart investment in possibly buying a couple used cars, starting with one and flipping it?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So then talk to me. So let's just say this here. Let's role play like for real.
Sure.
Okay. Maybe I don't work for you, but let's just say this. Let's just pretend I work at a dealership. I'm Sean Bradley, and I'm in the Millionaire Car Salesman Group, and I connect with you, Chris, who's the dealer principal of an independent dealership in Kentucky, and we're friends online in the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. And I'm like, yo, Chris, you got a minute? And you're like, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, Chris, this is what I want to do. Can I call you in a couple minutes? I want to talk to you about something.
Sure.
Okay. So now we're going to straight real role play. Hey, Chris, is it a good time to talk?
Yeah. What's going on, Sean?
All right, man, listen, I'm selling about 20 cars a month at the dealership. I feel good, man, but you know what? I'm freaking good at this stuff. And I had this crazy idea. I was thinking about, and I don't really understand stocks, and I'm a little scared about real estate, but you know what? I love cars and I know cars. I got this crazy idea. I want to start my own dealership, but I don't want a brick and mortar. I don't have a budget for that. But I'm thinking maybe I start with 1 or 2 cars and then maybe flip them. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think it's awesome. First of all, I think it's great that you're doing 20 cars and you want more. So you've got the right mindset to start with. I would just commend you on that to begin with. So yes, absolutely. I think it's a great thing to get into.
All right. But so here's my thing. I could have turned around and just taken my figgity fat check I got for my bonus and then just bought somewhere. I was like, nah, let me call my man Chris. I see Chris lighting up in the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. So do you have any advice? What type of cars should I get? Like right now, I work at a Ford dealership. Okay. So should I approach my dealer or GM and say, look, I want to buy one of your wholesale pieces, or should I go buy it outright? Like, what is your advice if I don't have a lot of budget? Let's say here's what I want to spend. I could spend, if I was going to use cash, between $5,000 and $10,000. So my question is, do I get 2 cars, or do I take that 10 grand and maybe get a loan? I don't know what to do. So I'm calling you. What should I do?
Absolutely. So budget's a big part of it, of course. I would say, considering the budget, get the best car you can for the budget, the most high demand car you can for the budget. Look and see what you're selling right now. Okay, maybe you're selling, a lot of brand new. You said you work at a Ford store, Ford Explorers.
Right.
SUV market's crazy right now. So maybe you can't get a brand new one or even a few year old one for that. But what kind of Explorer can you get for your budget? Right? Do you know that product? Well, okay. Start there. Start with what you know. All right. Start with what you're comfortable with.
So if I'm understanding you, what you're saying is that don't try to get like 2 cheap cars. I should get the highest quality car that I could get.
Well, listen, I don't care if you're doing it on the side or if you have, $1 billion franchise dealer group. To me, your reputation's everything. Okay. So that's how we've grown, I think, as fast as we've always done good business. I don't care what the price point was.
Right.
Again, $2,000 or $200,000. If you give somebody a bad experience, sell them a bad vehicle, it will always come back to bite you. It will cost you more than you made every time. So
let's backtrack for a second. Okay, so let's say I have between $5,000 and $10,000. Let's call it. I have $7,500, right?
Perfect.
So my question is do I try to go to the bank and tell them what I'm going to do and maybe, get a loan on it, or no, or just use what I've got? That way I don't owe anybody anything. What is your advice on that part?
Listen, if you can walk in a bank and they'll give you money, leveraging other people's money is absolutely a great thing to do if you're responsible with it and you know how to do it. If you can't walk in and get money, which is probably a lot of people out there, use what you got.
Let's go to that though. So is there anybody, because I was listening to this Millionaire podcast the other week and I heard you say something about, you leveraged, got a credit line or something like that. Let's start with this. Is there anybody that would lend me money if I say, hey, look, I work at a car dealership for several years. I got an inside connection with wholesale pieces. I do have my own money right here, but I'd like to turn around and try to get a loan or try to get something like that. Do you think that's even possible? Because I don't want to waste my time, because anytime I'm not selling cars, I'm not making money. So I don't want to chase my tail.
Yeah.
From your perspective, is it even worth it to try to find a loan or what have you, or just take the money I've got, flip it at first? What do you suggest?
No, it's a very good question. So going back to the floor plans, typically you have to be a dealership, at least have a license and a facility to get a floor plan. So I would say if you do not have that yet, that might be on the horizon for in the future. So I would start with any relationships you have. I had a prior salesman that actually did this on the side as well, and we were totally fine with it as long as it didn't interfere with dealership operations. And he did extremely well with it.
How did he do it? What did he get? Where did he get his capital from?
So he started with his relationships that he already had. So you're working with lenders, and he started with a local credit union that we used tremendously. We had a good relationship.
Oh, wow.
He walked in and said exactly what you said. Here's what I'm trying to do. I like to borrow some money. And they started him off with a small personal, unsecured loan, a little bit a higher rate than obviously secured by collateral, but they gave him a little money, and as the relationship progressed and he did well, they started to increase it.
Oh, wow.
So yes, it's possible. Of course, they're going to look at credit and all the things that a banker's going to look at for anybody. So yes, absolutely, it's possible.
So this is great. I'm so glad that, back out of Roleplay just for a second, that you see this. I didn't turn around and just give up as a salesperson. You want to turn around and explore all possibilities before you make any excuses. So I love this, and thank you for matching my intensity with your suggestions. So credit unions, that was coming from you. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to try to look at different lending stuff. Another thing that you could do is maybe get partners. Say, hey, listen, sure, I'm in car sales. If you got people, maybe friends or relatives that got money that you could raise, $3,000 here, $5,000 there, you could turn around and raise some capital, right?
Absolutely. And so we actually sought that out before we opened our dealership. We actually sought out a financial backer, a partner to do that. And to be honest with you, we turned down several offers to the tune of, before we ever opened with 0 cars, we turned down $300,000 cash, liquid. Could have been a nice cash infusion, but we were giving up too much of the upside.
Understood.
So yes, those people are out there. Now you have to do the digging and the searching and the networking and really go out and find them. But are they out there? Absolutely.
Okay, so let's just say we get past that. Whether we decide to just self-finance. That way we don't owe anybody. There's no problems if we sink or swim our own merit, or we get a loan, or we get an advance, or sure, we get an angel investor, we get a partner, whatever. We have cash. Okay. Do you suggest that I try to go through my dealership first and maybe buy a wholesale vehicle from them? Or, maybe if I take in a trade, do you think I could turn around and go to the manager and say, look, I know that the trade is this, but we got it at this. Can I buy this from you? Maybe not the whole thing, but maybe just if I'm going to do one or twosies.
So what I would suggest, because I've been on both sides of the table there, so what I would suggest is that you absolutely have that candid conversation with your manager or owners or management level, and that there is clarity and certainty on what that looks like and what that expectation and relationship is or is not, because some places are going to view it a lot differently.
Agreed.
Some people are going to think that you're taken from the dealership. Some people are going to view it as great. We would wholesale these anyway. This is a win-win. So you really got to have that conversation and pin down what that looks like. And it's going to be different from dealership to dealership, of course. But yes, if you can get, why wouldn't you? It's low-hanging fruit. If there's cars there that you could buy that it's good for the dealership and it's good for you, it's a win-win. Absolutely. I think that would be a great source.
Can you just give us a couple ideas? Let's just say the dealership says, listen, you can do whatever you want to do in your own time. I just like to, have separation between church and state, metaphorically speaking. You do everything on there. So let's say my dealership wasn't a possibility. Where would you suggest that I try to find cars?
The way we started was, and this was 10 years ago. Oh, no, not 10 years ago. This was, this was 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Craigslist. We got on Craigslist. Nowadays you have Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
That's the new Craigslist. You've got OfferUp. You have all these online platforms that, especially if your budget's limited, a $1,000 to $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 car, they're on there in abundance.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of people out there working those avenues the way they should. There's a ton of opportunity there. We would buy on Craigslist, fix, repair, recon, whatever we need to do, and turn around and put it right back on Craigslist.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
So, get creative. Social media has changed everything. Put out posts, tell people you're buying cars. I know a guy that's all he does is buys junk cars or buys, cars off the public, and they're that price point, and he does really well with a very, very low overhead, and he makes good living doing it.
I love this, man. This is really awesome, Chris, because most people don't talk about this. Dealer principals don't teach salespeople and entrepreneurially people how to build, their business because of fear that they might leave or fear that might be a competitor. But, there's so much access to information. Covered information in the information age is just kind of stupid. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Okay, any other advice to somebody that wants to partake this? So let's say I've got the vehicle and that's there. Is there anything else that you could give me as like, hey, be careful of this, be careful of that, don't forget this, make sure you do that?
Sure. I'm a big believer in good karma, so do things the right way. I'm sure, Kentucky has certain laws that after a certain volume, you're supposed to have a dealer's license. So check out what your local rules, regulations are. You don't want to do this and make a bunch of money.
What is in Kentucky? How many cars?
I don't remember. I think it was...
Over 10?
Yeah, 10 a year. I don't know, something like that. Not to say we didn't bend those rules back then, but you don't want to...
How much does a license go for approximately for a dealer's license?
There's a few fees you got to pay for paperwork, but
it's not that much.
It's not really the cost of the licenses is pretty low. It's more so the facilities and you got to have insurance.
Right.
So it's... You could be a dealer for $3,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, it's cheap.
It's not that big of an investment. We started off really inexpensive.
I love this. So think about this, and now take it a step further. Now I'm going to add my spin onto this podcast. Is try to imagine if I'm Sean Bradley, right? I could turn on if I'm in. I live in Medford, New Jersey. I might might go to GoDaddy.com and see that Medford Car Sales or South Jersey Car Sales URL is available. So I could go to LegalZoom.com and incorporate the business. So I could actually incorporate the business for less than $199. So I could have a LLC or an S Corp that's a legitimate thing. I could even, as you just said, theoretically, get a whole dealer's license and have even a used car dealer plate and all that type of stuff. Which means that you can now have a demo. Literally, there's a lot of value. There's a lot of perks between insurance, demo status, demo plate status, incorporations, tax shelters. I mean, just it gets stupid. But more importantly, also, if you do it this way with the incorporation of the dealer's license, you are a legitimate business, which means you can actually have Google Real Estate. You'll be on Google Local, Google Business, Yelp, etc. And so you would be literally a brick and mortar, even if it's in a garage or in your backyard or in your house, or even if it's a virtual address, but on a landscape. Legitimately, technical-wise, there's no difference from a $1 billion, rooftop versus a virtual address that's incorporated with a dealer's license. Like digitally, there's nothing difference. So, I mean, this is some high-level ish that we're talking about right here, man. I love this. I hope you out there are listening. This is rare. Nobody has conversations like this. So, Chris, thank you so much for your expertise. Before I miss my flight and I'm camping out with you and your wife and the twins, I got to get going. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you. And
again,
Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, DP of Easy Car Connection, Chris Cochran, Sean B. Bradley, Orange Tie Guy. We out.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you like it, you love it, you want more of it, then don't wait for the next money show. Just go to BradleyOnDemand.com and take your career to the next level.